If you could change your feet, would you? Hi, and welcome to Reviewlijam, the show where I review whatever the hell I want, because it's my show, and not yours. Yeah, full transparency, I'm recording this the night before it has to be uploaded, because I'm keeping myself on a schedule. Speaking of the schedule, I'm either doing one video next week, or I might do a week without videos. I'm gonna try and film some stuff. I'm going to Dublin on Sunday, for an audition. Nothing exciting, but I might try and film my journey there and just have fun with it, experiment a little bit. But my next video, I really want to plan and do justice because I've been thinking about this video and I'm really excited for it. It's not a review, it's not a chat, it's inspired by Mike's mic. It will not be 5 hours. I cannot do that. It might be 5 hours. But yeah, so that's the plan. And to nobody watching, hi. So today I'm reviewing Ride the Cyclone, currently playing at the Suffolk Playhouse Elephant. This is a pretty solid 3-star review for me. It was really good. I enjoyed it. I think a couple of things really let it down. And that is not to say that anyone on production and stuff or the actors. I think the thing that I found particularly challenging was the space. And I think that the space didn't necessarily work for Ride the Cyclone or the version of Ride the Cyclone that they had created. Once again, I saw this show in an extremely difficult headspace. Full transparency, I had a panic attack in the middle of Act 1. That's probably too personal, but just, once again, I don't want to go into this review without hiding anything. I want this to be as unbiased as possible, and so for me to go out there and say, I had a panic attack in the middle of Act 1, my headspace was not there. I also didn't go to see the show to review it, but I have opinions. I'm gonna share them. It's not a proper review. I'm not being paid by anyone. I don't know why anyone would pay me, but here we are. So, Ride the Cyclone. What is it about? Ride the Cyclone is about 6 kids in a Saskatchewan choir who are competing in a choir competition, but end up at a theme park instead and tragically lose their life. And so the musical is a competition to see who will come back to life, where each character has a number. All of the main characters except the narrator has a number to showcase why they should come back to life. Some of them do exactly that, and then we have ballads, we have a lot of different things. I am such a lover of this musical. I was so excited to hear it was coming to London, to the point that was my trip to London. That was why I went to London, was to see this show. To the point where this was the reason why I came to London, was to see this show. I first became aware of it when, I think this is going back to 2014 or something. Nathan from Drawfee, weird reference, mentioned it, and I looked it up and became slightly obsessed, even though there were there was very little out there apart from, I think, The Ballad of Jane Doe was on YouTube, and I listened to it obsessively. And then the cast recording came out last year, 2023, I want to say. And then it went viral, and this musical is probably my best drag number. is what the world needs. So that gives you an insight into how excited I was for this production. We have book, music, and lyrics by Jacob Richmond and Brooke Maxwell, with Lizzie Gee being the director and choreographer. Let's get on to the cast. So, first up, we have Bailey Carson as Ocean. Bailey was the center of attention always. They really made sure that they got the attention, which might sound a little bit conceited or a bit arrogant, but it really embodied Ocean's character, in which Bailey was sure that everything was made about them, whether the other characters wanted it or not. Ocean had their moment, their what the world needs, and then they had every other number, because every other number was made about them. And I think that that really highlighted how amazing Bailey was at being this character that you didn't like. I mean, don't get me wrong. Bailey did a very good job of showcasing that Ocean probably should have been the one to come back to life. They were the most deserving in terms of like merit. But they also showed that like they weren't a likable person. And I think that Bailey was incredible at that. I think at times maybe they made choices that I wouldn't have, and I think I'm going to go back. They changed some of the music for this production from not just the cast recording, but from other productions that I've legally seen. So I just want to check. Ben McQuigg, the musical director, I think some of those changes worked very well. I think particularly for what the world needs, and that is kind of how I will go through this, is I will talk about every character and their song because I think it makes the most sense. I think some of it didn't necessarily work. Now, another thing to add to this, I saw it during press week, so not everything might be final, and I've seen some absolutely phenomenal reviews calling this like a must-see show. So maybe I just saw it on a night when things still were a little fresh. Yeah, I'm willing to give benefit of the doubt here, especially because I've seen so many recommend shows and I was just a little bit let down. I suppose now is a better time to talk about it than any. I didn't love the space for this. I was sitting in not a bad seat. I was towards the back of one of the side sections, but I couldn't see Karnak, who is the narrator, the fortune teller, at all. I could see Edward's hands whenever he was gesturing, but that was about it. I had to like properly lean forward to see Edward, and even still it was a struggle, which for the narration, I think I would have liked to have seen Edward a bit more. I think that maybe wasn't the best choice. I would have liked to see Edward maybe on one of the corners, and I know that's restrictive to other people's views, but I think there was probably a better place to put him. I also, they use the 4 doors, so 4 doors in each corners, including going past to the audience, with it felt very black box theatre. Yes, they had projections and a full set and everything, but they also had black boxes. I think that kind of, I get it. This is quite an experimental show, but it felt a little bit A-level drama to me, in the sense of sometimes people were moving it around and it was very noticeable that they were moving it. It kind of like took the spotlight away from other things. That also, the lights were kept on backstage, so it was a bit of a, not backstage, but through the audience doors. So every time they entered or exited through that, it was a little bit distracting. But I think they made good use of the stage that they had because it was a relatively small stage. It just about fit the six main characters, with Karnak being up above. Um, yeah, I think that overall they worked with what they did have, but it was noticeable what they were lacking, and I think a better stage would have helped them. Next up, we have Jane Doe, um, which builds on my point. That's why I'm moving on. We have Grace Holloway as Jane Doe. She was incredible. She really played this like scariness to it. It's extreme to the comedic extreme, which Jane Doe really encapsulates through the writing, which is every time things are happy-go-lucky, Jane Doe brings it down and plays it for laughs and is a little bit headless or naive in the sense that she doesn't have a head. It's all very ironic with Jane Doe, who was pitch perfect through the Ballad of Jane Doe. The only hesitation I have is that I think we could have gotten more from Grace Galloway, in the sense of the original production, and a lot of other productions have Jane Doe floating. They like wire her up and she like floats and flips through the air while singing. And I think that Grace could have done that. I think that Grace was pitch perfect and ethereal and brilliant. And I think the challenge would have been great for her. I also completely understand why they couldn't do that because of the space. Bringing it back, there was nowhere to rig her up. So what they did instead was they had her on top of a coffin, which I think is perfect sense, and they had her head float about while someone else stood to kind of mask this, and there was a lot of theatrics to cover it up, which I think works well. I think it was nice and innovative, but I would have liked a bit more of a challenge for Grace, because I think that Grace Galloway was spectacular. And that's not a note towards anyone. It's more just of a the space was so limiting. Next up, we have Robin Gilbertson as Constance, which I think was perfect casting. I think that whilst we had Ocean or Bailey stealing the show or stealing the attention, every time Constance spoke, it was amazing. And she really was that, like, the friend that actually deserved the attention rather than the friend who was begging for the attention. And I think and I think especially because this is Robin's debut performance, professional debut, you couldn't have asked for a better professional debut, because I think that everyone will come out of this looking to book her for something else. I think she has a bright career ahead of her because she lit up that stage. I think that a lot of this cast really put the work in, and I think that it paid off. I think that whilst I'm going on and on and on about the space letting everything down, I think that what the team did, particularly the cast that was on stage, were the thing that was worth seeing. And I think that with a bigger, probably budget as well, and a better space, this could be on the West End for a long, long time. It could be like Six, because, and the reason I'm comparing it to Six is because Six doesn't have a lot of people on stage, and it's all kind of solo numbers. They're kind of similar-ish in terms of like tone, but yeah, I think that the difference between Six being long-lasting and this is in terms of budget and space. So next up we have Damon Gold as Noel. Damon Gold knew what they were doing. Their theatre credits tell all. It's Cabaret at the Kit Kat Club, Grease, But I'm a Cheerleader, Pretty Women, Kinky Boots. It's that high camp. And playing Noel, with Noel's Lament being a semi-drag number, definitely a cabaret number, Damon really worked it. And I mean, their legwork alone was breathtaking in terms of just the flexibility, and the way they played with Bartek as Misha was delectable. There was tension even when there shouldn't be, and Noel played for laughs when was needed, but had this softness and this need. Yeah, I think neediness is the right word, that I don't think anyone other than Damon Gold could have played. I think that Damon really brought Damon to this piece, and this is me only seeing Damon once, so I could be completely wrong, but there was something unique about the characterization that I think Damon brought to Noel, and I think that they had fun with it, which is really the best thing you can hope for, is that they have fun with a role, because when they're in for a good time, you're in for a good time. Bringing up Bartek, we have Bartek Krasowski as Misha. I'm probably butchering that name. Who really had fun. And that's not a diss. I think that as a rap, having that rap verse and also the ballad, his singing chops were insane. The reason why I say they had fun is because they were doing flips and breakdancing. It was nice to see a little bit of risk, in that of all of the shows that I saw that London trip, the choreography was all meticulous, and even when there was slightly breakdancier stuff, I'm thinking Chandelier and Moulin Rouge, it was all very structured and musical theatre-y, whereas Bartek breakdancing in the middle of Cyclone kind of broke that mold, and there was a little bit more fun to be had with it, which really was the highlight of this show for me. Was everyone looked like they were having fun on stage and not taking it super seriously, which I have a rule for as an actor. My rule as an actor is that you do not take acting seriously, but you take the actor seriously. And what that means to me is, once you take acting seriously and there's no fun in it anymore, you cannot create something that is whole, or not whole, but there's no spark. And I think that spark is hard to, when it's there, it's there. It's hard to describe. But as an actor, you're always taking the practice seriously, but when you're acting, you're having fun, and that is something that everyone on stage did. And I think that it really highlights a bright future for theatre, because this is experimental new work, and it's got a lot of younger actors. I mean, this is Bartek's professional debut. It's Robin's professional debut. It's Jack, who I'm talking about, Next's professional debut. It just really highlights that we're in safe hands in the future of acting because they're having fun and it's not just this job anymore. Speaking of Jack, we have Jack Maverick as Ricky. It's his professional debut, but first things first, I was so happy to see a an actor with a disability on stage as Ricky, who is disabled in the show. It was nice to have that representation on stage, but let's not dissolve Jack down to his disability, because damn was he talented. Damn did he play the heck out of his number. And I was blown away, because Space Age Bachelor Man is that kind of number where it's either going to be the scene stealer or it's one of those forgettable numbers. And it was the scene stealer. It was, I think, my favorite number in this show. Because fun. I keep mentioning fun. But also, Jack played this confident, sexy badass in a way that I think a lot of other people would have struggled to do. Because I think that Jack understood what was needed and then went, no, I'm gonna do my own thing. And it was impeccable to watch. I cannot highlight Jack Maverick enough. And I think that they should be in everything. I want to watch Jack Maverick do a one-man show of, because I mentioned it earlier, Cabaret. I want to see Jack Maverick do a one-man show of Eugenius, of Kinky Boots, of Heathers, because there is so much charisma that is exuberated on stage. And last but not least, on stage, we have Edward Wu as the amazing Karnak. I am going to shout it out. Lambda alumni. But yeah. It's that thing of everything I heard from Edward was brilliant. Everything I heard from Edward was captivating. I couldn't see Edward, so I cannot comment on a lot of the acting. And I hate that. But from what I did see and from what I did hear, Edward was phenomenal. Edward really played his role well, in the sense of, I think that he was dry and witty with the humor. He was able to give a lot of information to the audience without making it seem like he was giving information. And even when he did, it was wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We both know that I'm giving you stuff. Like, he understood his role and really played with it and had fun. And I think that I really enjoyed what I heard and the very little that I saw of Edward. But I don't want to beat around the dead bush. And did I? Yeah. I don't want to beat around the bush or keep beating a dead horse. There's not much that I can say with Edward because I didn't see him that often. But from what I did see, it was lovely. So yeah, that was my review of Ride the Cyclone. Sorry, it was a little all over the place. It's a last minute video that is last minute because I've been sick, and so I haven't prepped as much as I would have liked. I tried to record this video and gave up a couple of days ago because I've been ill. Please stick with me, I will find my footing. and I'm just trying to get something out to keep this schedule going. So it's not my best video. I'm aware of that, and the people in Write the Cyclone don't deserve that. Maybe I'll re-record this and re-upload it a different day. But thank you for bearing with me whilst I find my footing.